All right, I want to tell you a story about my exploration into using an orchestrated AI agents to assist me with product ownership, specifically over Salesforce. The story basically starts with I stood up a Salesforce. Salesforce allows you to stand up a free instance if you have less than 2 users, at least when I got this instance. The instance comes with simulated data, so you can see that it's a real Salesforce environment, and it has simulated opportunity information in here. It also has lead and account information as well. So the very first thing that I did was I talked to Aegis, who's my lead AI agent, and I said I wanted some sort of pipeline sanity check. So I just said, hey, can you take a quick look at our Salesforce pipeline, give me a sanity check? Here's some things I care about: deal size, how are the deals distributed across stages, typical pipeline requests that you might get from a revenue department, right? Revenue team. So the very first thing that Aegis did is Aegis coordinated with our sub agents. They each have their own purpose. They're sub agents, and what they did is they assessed our Salesforce. They actually did a health check as well. But again, I'll focus on the pipeline right now. And they went into my Salesforce and they took a look at the data. And what they did is they not only gave me pipeline information, but they analyzed the pipeline deeper and they provided me some potential risks and some recommendations. So let's take a look at this real quick. So very basic, 31 opportunities. You can see right away though, there's two things in red. We can see that there's zero close loss. This is just a bit suspicious. And 100% of the deals are past due, which means the close date's past due. So the main flag here is that leadership's basically flying blind because there's missing information in the opportunities. So every opportunity looks the same. It looks like it says the same dollar amount and stage, no activity trail, no buyer mapping, no loss history. And here we go down to pipeline by stage. So we see, like it was asked for in the email, pipeline by stage. Again, just the distribution of it. But here's where it starts to get interesting. So that's just a regular pipeline report that you would get. But here's where it gets interesting is it identified this as a risk, the account concentration. And the reason is because you can see that 60% of the pipeline is held within one company. If we lose the relationship with United Oil, 60% of our pipeline is gone. This is a major risk to our pipeline. Additionally, there's specific deals that are at risk, right? So this is 45 days overdue. This needs the stages need analysis. So this is identifying, hey, these have been going on for quite some time. They're past their close date. We need someone to go check in on these. This started to take a look even deeper into basically what's compliance, right? So this is sort of like process and procedure that is like sales operations process and procedure, right? So we can see that there's zero activity logs logged on our opportunities, on any opportunity. That's a huge concern, right? Again, the close dates aren't being maintained. The losses aren't being tracked. There's no contact role. So we don't know who's involved on the buyer side in this deal. We could also see there's only a single rep that's managing or that's owning the pipeline. So that's identified as a risk as well. So again, it looks at that information, it analyzes the information looking for risks, and now it comes up with recommendations. So what we're saying here is that every single deal needs to have a buyer, no exception. There needs to be a rule on the opportunities that basically says it cannot progress unless we have some sort of role associated with that opportunity, right? Some sort of person associated with the opportunity. The other recommendation is weekly deal forecast calls with the team. Again, this is making sure that is there activity, show me your last touch points. It's also making sure that there's no opportunities that are overdue. This is really like a hygiene touch point with the manager and the sales rep. Close loss reason becomes mandatory. Close loss becomes mandatory. You can't just let your opportunity sit out there for 74 days because you don't want to destroy your close rate. You have to close the opportunity. Additionally, when the opportunity is close lost, you need to identify a reason. So these are the three main recommendations, operational changes that it's proposing. the team's proposing. After that, it gave a 30-day pipeline stabilization plan. So it knows that we're looking at pipeline. It knows that we're worried about risks of pipeline. And here's its recommendations. And actually, I skipped ahead a little bit. So the other thing is after it gave me the initial breakdown, the initial information. So when I asked that first question, it gave me basically this information, right? It showed me what my pipeline looked like. Then I said, okay, hey, that's great information, but I'm less interested about that. Can you tell me about the risks? And that's when it started breaking down these risks. One thing that I want to point out here that I think is really cool is how conversational this was. This is what I gave to Aegis, and I didn't even tell it to delegate. It knew that it should delegate to get these tasks complete. So here's the recommendation, right? Week 1, define buyer role requirement. Again, making sure that there's a buyer on the opportunity. Publishing the pipeline expectations, hygiene expectations, letting sales know that, hey, we're expecting you to conduct X activities within X amount of days. And then announcing the weekly deal inspection. So this is just saying, hey, just a heads up, we're going to meet once a week, and I'm going to look at your opportunities as your manager, and we're going to talk about your opportunities. So then I said to Aegis, hey, I really appreciate that. That's a fantastic breakdown, and I'm very nice to my agents. And I said, hey, can you give me a proposal of what week 1 looks like? And I give it a little bit more information about what I was looking for, but it says, hey, week 1, I plan to use 5 agents. I think it's going to take 3 to 4 hours, and I think it's going to cost $8 to $15. Here's the deliverables that are planned for this week. Again, requiring the buyer on the opportunity, some pipeline hygiene, blah, blah, blah. Here's the owner, the individual agent owner. Here's their support agent. And then here's just a larger picture at the team assignment, the team breakdown. So here's, again, all of my agents. Here's what their role is in this sprint. For example, Lens is post-deployment verification. Then there's the execution timeline. So what Aegis is saying is that they want to do this in 3 phases. So draft the standards, then build, and then deliver, basically. Again, there's the cost estimate down here. But what's great is it also says, based on your monthly budget of $50, this is going to be 30% of your budget, potentially 30% of your budget, which is really nice to know, not just the cost, but the total budget percentage. Then it also identifies dependencies and risks and what it's going to do to mitigate that risk. So one of the ones that it calls out here is that contact role can't really be, you can't restrict an opportunity from moving if it doesn't have a contact role, because the contact role is a separate object in Salesforce. So it identified that as, hey, this is something we need to take a look at. The mitigation is, hey, instead we should build a flow or Apex. So that's an example of one of the risks. Then it comes down to the expected ROI, right? So what it's basically saying is like, hey, this is a practice environment. Keep that in mind. But really what we want to look at here is the real world ROI. So forecast accuracy improving by 50%, improve or at least see rep productivity. And then again, establishing confidence in the data. We want Salesforce to be the single source of data, and we want to have confidence in that data. So then I said, okay, I've already approved this with Aegis, and I want to show you what happened. Okay, so like how this kicked off. So let's see. Sorry, that's some prep work for it. Okay, I said, okay, let's kick this off. I'm really excited. Okay, let's kick it off. Okay, so what Aegis did then is it said, these are for phase 1. Okay, these are the agents and these are their subtasks. Okay, so for Signal, what your role is to identify the roles that need to be the buyer roles, the specific buyer roles. Then also what we consider qualification, also understanding how many activities need to be had within 14 days. Then it goes to Steward, and Steward does some governance things, takes a look at what should be, or excuse me, takes a look at creating the loss categories for close lost. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's see. Signal. We're going to go into Signal. And right here. Okay, so Aegis came into Signal and says, hey, this is week 1. This is our sprint, week 1 sprint. This is the change log that you're working on. This is the objective. Okay, ensure every opportunity has a key decision maker, and it gives the breakdown of the individual task. Okay, so that's what Signal was doing. That's what Signal was given as a task. And again, down here, you say what counts as an activity, right? So this is the second task, activity logging requirement by stage. So what counts as an activity? Is it an email? Is it a call? What counts as a stale deal? Okay, then it also said it was using Steward. So let's take a look at what Steward did for this. This is for phase 1, week 1. Okay, so let's see. So Steward's task was pipeline hygiene, governance standards. Okay, so what Steward was doing was defining the sales operations policies, basically, right? So opportunities with a close date that's 1 to 7 days past due are flagged as at risk. So it's defining these standards and making sure that our sales team adheres to those standards because they're being defined. And we're going to make sure that the sales team sees that clear definition. Let's see, then Helix did something. So let's take a look at Helix. What did Helix do? Okay, so Sprint 1, deliverables, pipeline health framework. Okay, this is identifying, basically this is saying how it's identifying whether it's healthy or not using a weighted system. And it looks like they're using activities as part of the weight. And stage conversion. Let's see. What is this? Win-loss ratio. So I had to take a look at this one a little bit more to see what that is. Track per stage. Flag any stage converting below 50%. I see. So if it's at an early stage, basically that weight is going to be contributed to it. So if it's at a very late stage, obviously it's going to probably be healthy. But the thing that's really cool is it's taking that weighted system and it's saying, hey, I think this opportunity is fine. I think this opportunity is stalled, or I think this opportunity is at risk. And it did that by looking at last activity, close date, whatever, right? Is there a contact role associated with the opportunity? And then it's also talking about the account concentration. But that's really cool. So it's starting to work, right? Like it's taking a look at our system and it's seeing what do I need to do with this system? And it completed phase 1. So now let's see, kicking off phase 2. So let's see. I think this is still phase 1. Phase 3 complete. Oh, that's right. This is week 1, phase 2. That's right. Sorry about that. Okay, so in phase 2 of week 1, that's what Summit. Okay, so Summit was taking the information from, so Steward defined the rules, and Summit basically is presenting the rules, right? So they're writing the rules out. So Steward defined them based on the information it had available, and Summit's actually writing the rules out so that they can be presented to the sales team. I see what's going on there. Looks like Anchor created some new fields. It created a validation rule. Close loss date must be in the future. It created a validation rule. It's on its own. Looks like it updated some opportunities. All right, going into phase 3. Phase 3, week 1. It looks like it's just testing. So phase 3, week 1. All passed our tests. That's great. 6 tests passed. Okay, so later on you'll see I asked for some UAT documentation. But here's what it presented. Okay, so what was delivered at the end of week 1: pipeline operation standards, weekly deal inspection format, buyer role requirements, pipeline hygiene governance standards, KPI framework, some rules and some fields, and some testing. Then down here, actually, I thought this was pretty cool because I asked a question really not intelligently. So it was saying that what's still pending. It says contact role enforcement. It says it needs anchor and potentially forge for the next sprint. And I said, "What do you mean by this? And how can I help?" And I wasn't clear in what I mean by what do you mean by this. And what I meant was, what do you mean you need anchor? Like, why can't you just use anchor? How can I help? And so it wasn't a very clear question, but it understood what I was saying. It said basically, hey, this is what I need done, and this is how you can help. Okay, so how can you help? I just need to know how you want this contact role enforcement on the opportunity. Do you want it done in a flow, or do you want it done in a trigger? And it says I recommend a flow. Cool. Then the scorecard and concentration dashboard. Do you want this built in Salesforce and HTML? I said in Salesforce. Then it started into week 2. Okay, so let's see. That was week 1. And the other thing that I have it doing, but it looks like it's not doing right now, is logging the changes. And then here I have UAT for week 1. So we'll get into week 2 in a minute, but I want to go through UAT for week 1 because I haven't done it yet, actually. So I might need to go create a sales user, actually, but we'll see how this goes. I think I'm going to have to create a sales user because I'm an admin right now. And actually, that's another thing that I want to have on here is who should be doing the testing. So I'll have this document improved. But let's go ahead. Navigate to any opportunity record, click edit, look for loss reason, click the drop down. Okay, this one's simple. It's just saying, like, does this field exist? And are these values in that field? Loss to competitor, no decision, budget constraints. Okay, let's take a look. Interesting. Okay, so I don't see that on the page layout. So this is good, right? I'm just gonna double check. Loss, right? And it said look for loss reason field. Okay, so no pass. Could not see the field on the page layout. All right, the next one, require. This is where I'm gonna need a sales user, I think. But let's see. Okay, change the stage to close lost. If this created some sort of dependent field where the field of loss reason only populates when the opportunity is in close lost. I don't know if that made sense. I was just saying, if they create a dependent pick list that the field for reason lost only shows up when the opportunity is lost, that would be amazing. Let's see. So what I'm doing is I'm double checking to make sure that it's not floating around somewhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and lose this. Where's the stage? I want to do it this way. Okay. Close lost. And I still don't see a reason. Okay. Which means it shouldn't let me save this. Contact role missing. Okay. Okay, so I need to add a contact. So let's just add, let me see if that's in the UAT. Okay, I think what happened is we're already in week 2, which deployed the contact role rule. So it's not in this UAT. So I'm going to go ahead and add the contact, and then we'll test the close loss. Role decision maker. I think that's what it has to be, right? Oh, I don't know actually. I think it's decision maker though. Economic decision maker and champion must be identified. Okay, so that's decision maker. I also have to identify the champion. Okay. Economic decision maker. I don't. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, so champion. I have to change the other one from decision maker to economic decision maker. So. Oops. Did I miss something? Yeah. Economic decision maker. Okay, we added those two. Oh, I see. It was saying, do you want to save? Okay, so added those two. Now it should still stop me from going to close loss because I don't have a close loss reason. So let's see here. Loss reason required. When closing an opportunity is closed lost. Review the following fields. Loss reason. Okay, cool. So that works, but I can't see the field, which means I can't complete this test either. Close 1 does not require loss reason. All right, so let's go ahead and check this to close 1. Does not require a lost reason. Fantastic. Okay. Reopen a closed lost opportunity. All right, let's see. Deal is back in the open pipeline. All right, so let's find a closed lost opportunity. Oh yeah, remember there are no closed lost opportunities, and I can't complete this UAT because I can't close lost one. Close date must be in the future. Okay, let's try that one. Close date. Yep, that works. That's cool. Set future close date allowed. Okay. All right, no problem. Today's date. March 26. All right, that passes. Let's see. Close 1 allows any close date. Open any close 1 opportunity. Oh yeah, okay. It's just saying it's not going to give you an issue if the opportunity is already won. Yeah, okay. Close date's 1/20/26. Okay, that one passes. Data cleanup. All opportunities have future close dates. Let's take a look. Yes, that's true. Yes. scenarios passed, I don't know. Should calculate that on its own. I think 7. I don't know how to submit this, honestly. So we'll see. Let's ask. Oh, no way. It has a link to the login? That's awesome. Okay. All right, let's go back to Aegis real quick. Sprint Command Center. Oh, cool. I think this is just giving me, access to all these different documents. Okay, cool. How do I submit this UAT document? It failed few tests. But still incredibly cool that I started with these 2 questions, right? And then through conversation after discovery with my lead agent, we progressed all the way to creating some hygiene rules to make sure that we can get rid of some of these issues, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I just want to go over the agents that I have. So I have a business discovery agent. I have a platform architecture agent, organizational intelligence agent. This is also used for our QA. I have a transformation agent, and what's cool is they introduced themselves up here, right? So originally their name was Bridge, but their name was changed to Vector. But what they do is they source to target data mapping analysis, dedupe and survivorship strategy, data quality, historical data treatment plan, validation, reconciliation. I think like a migration lead. It says what its outputs are, when to engage me, what I don't do, which I think is really important, critical truths, and who they typically work with as far as the other team members. Here you can see we updated the name to Vector. Purpose is unchanged. Again, legacy migration, CBQ, evolution, model trajectory. I have a governance model, a strategy transformation model, executive narrative, one that does revenue dynamics and analytics. This one's also for reporting, but this one's building reports inside Salesforce. This one is our Apex developer or engineer, and then this one right here is basically our senior admin. So I haven't done any Apex stuff yet, but we saw that they built a flow on their own. I'm gonna go look at it in the background and see what it looks like. But I just wanted to show you guys what I have been up to lately, and I just think it's incredibly cool. And such a unique advantage, unfair advantage, honestly, that we have to work with AI, and again, especially this orchestrated team. It's really impressive.